Good evening. I am Marretha Harris. I lost my mom July the 7th of this year, which brings my title to The Last Conversation. When I was left at home on a Sunday morning due to being ill, I was always curious to why I was being raised by my grandmother. So I found this red purse where my grandmother used to keep all her important papers in. And you know, as a child, when you left at home, you tend to ramble and see what's going on because you have that curious mind. Well, I found guardianship papers that said Gladys Williams was given guardianship on July the 25th, 1969 to Marretha Jones. Only I was 4 years old when I found these, well, when I was born July the 2nd, 1965, so I was 4 years old when my grandmother received guardianship over me. When I was told that Sarah was my mother and that my grandmother was raising me, I had questions. But back then, in those days, you didn't question adults because whatever was said here stayed here. It didn't go nowhere but inside that house. Life was different for me because I had two sisters and one brother that was being raised by my mother. So as a child, I didn't understand why I was being raised without them. I can remember asking if I could spend a night with my mother and my two sisters and my brother, and my grandmother's response, maybe one day. The day came when I was finally able to spend the night. I really didn't know how to act because my grandmother, at my grandmother's house, I didn't have to share anything, so I'm here at this house with my two sisters and my brother, and I didn't feel like I belonged there because I couldn't understand why my siblings lived there and I couldn't and I didn't. My mom was a teen mom, and so was I, but I couldn't understand why I could keep my baby and she didn't keep me. Being a teen mom was very hard for me. I didn't know the first thing about being a mother. The only thing I can remember is about baby dolls. When we had the little creasy dolls, you pull her hair out and curl her hair with your fingers, and that you loved it because that was your favorite toy. But in reality, being a mother is something where you don't get instructions, you don't get directions. It's something that you learn. Again, I couldn't understand why my mom didn't keep me and I kept my baby. I was still in high school, but through the grace of God, I got through it to have another baby after graduating high school. I would go through life and compare myself to my mother. We also had some of the same medical issues, diabetes, high blood pressure. We both struggled with addiction. We both loved to make people happy through our cooking. I can remember when I was living with my mother and she didn't get paid until the next day. And she had a rib in the freezer and some rice. She unthawed that rib, she fried that rib up like how you fry chicken, and she put some gravy and onions on it and made a pot of rice. And that was a meal that I had never had at my grandmother's house, so that's a meal that I cook today, still today. My daughter called me, "Mama, can you cook me some ribs, rice, and gravy?" But she don't like onions on hers. But that was a good meal, and that's a meal that I will always cherish that my mom made. All we had, my mom took everything that she thought she could and prepared meals for us, as I can remember. I always wanted to hang out with my mom and feel genuinely loved by her. When I tried to hang out with my mom, it would be fun sometimes, but sometimes it wouldn't. Again, I lost my mother on July the 7th, 2023. I was able to speak to her on July the 6th, 2023, just me and her. I shared with her that I felt that she had been mean to me and that she had pushed me away. Then I said to myself, just because she did that, I didn't have to be mean to her and push her away, and I apologized to her for that. Again, she shared that she always loved me because I was her good girl. So still today, I don't know why I was raised by my grandmother. Life will always be a question for me because I had two women who loved me the best way they knew how and with what they had. Two great women that will forever be in my heart. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. Mom, I hope you hear me.